Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. And Arlecchino is quite literally 24 hours until release, but Genshin decides, hey, let's surprise you with not one, not two, but three new characters coming in 4.7. I cannot believe my eyes when I'm seeing on the screen here. I was like, oh yeah, okay, maybe they'll like drop like one character, that's cool for 4.7, but no, they're coming in swinging. This coming patch will not be something to disappoint. So my name is Clorinde Creations and I will read it so you don't have to, and let's dive right into all three new characters that we'll be seeing in 4.7. So starting with Clorinde. Now Clorinde, I'm sure y'all have been waiting for her. Okay, come on now. One of the most interesting characters in Fontaine. Has a super flashy cutscene. Completely dominates a whole army of those robots, which is super cool. Probably one of the hypest Genshin cutscenes that we had in a minute. And this is a super nice push. She's dashing. She's got her pistol in hand. Definitely going to have a sword come out here at some point. Her signature Iron Sting. At any rate, but regardless, very cool pose, very much like it. I've seen a lot of art of Clorinde trying to mimic the pose that she'll have, but I think this is definitely the best one I've seen. A lot of them didn't really cover a lot of Genshin's main concepts, covering your face, which is something you never do for characters. But yes, regardless, it looks very cool, very excited for her. And let's move on to the other part of her post, which of course is the quote from someone here. I don't actually know. We'll see who this is from. So, word to the wise, my friend. Evidence against you is irrefutable. If you want to uphold your honor, atonement is an option. You could still do much good. There's no need to report a duel. I mean, your opponent is Clorinde. That Clorinde, you hear? Oh, for the love of Fountain of Lucille, if you go up against her, you'll wind up without the strength to confess your crimes. A sincere letter that a certain wealthy merchant who had pleaded not guilty and received on the eve of a duel. And of course, we know her name is Clorinde. She is the Candle Bearer and the Shadow Hunter, a champion duelist with the Electrovision. Of course, we know that, and the constellation of Arlecchino. Now, that is very interesting. I do wonder if this. I don't think this is the letter to Kalis, being Navia's father. But regardless, I think many people have fallen onto Clorinde's blade, and as you can see, very excited to actually finally have her because. She was very essential to the plot of Fontaine, and it is surprising to see her come out so early. Of course, with the required, 0.4 leeway patch that always comes, is going to push her date back significantly. So it is really great to see her. Now, let's move on to her character story and let's see, what else she has. Let's see here. Now, I think without question, we can't say that she is a 5-star. And I do hope that, for the most part, I hope that she continues the trend of, dealing self-damage to yourself, to increase your power. That way more Mari Shosei Hunter users, etc. And she is very much coded to the Mari Shosei Hunter set. So I do imagine that she will do something along those lines. Of course, I hope she uses, the musket, or the pistol here, I should say. Because that was a very, that was a thing she just straight up introduced into Fontaine. So that's super cool. Oh, you can actually see the sword, so it's going to be pointing out that way. I think she'll have two poses very similar to other artworks in Genshin Impact. But let's go ahead and read the rest of Clorinde's lore. Oh, this is a long one. All right. Disputes are more a dozen in Fontaine. Day in and day out, a playwright may accuse a fantastical reader of imitating their style and taking up a pen name too close to their own. Oh, wow, plagiarism, crazy. To a point that even newspapers could not distinguish a genuine article, a merchant might accuse a colleague of a targeted malicious, cutthroat competition of not only constantly adjusting their prices, but intentionally setting up a shop directly opposing them. Ordinarily, disputes are settled by guards rushing out into the scene, but there are always a minority of claimants who think themselves were most clever in their ulterior intent, will abstainly press for the court proceedings and get their name out there. And if their dual application were to be approved, they might be famous indeed. However, if some well-meaning neighbor were to tell them, I've heard the most recently rostered champion duelist is Miss Clorinde, the same clever folk would almost instantly be defeated by the arrogant airs of, what is that? Hold on. Violet Gold Angler Glue caught in the neck and seize such praise altogether. For all are well acquainted with the name of the mightiest champion duelist. Beneath her blade, all despicable deeds that aim to capitalize on mere fortune under the guise of decency will show their true colors. And she has never once known defeat. In a duel. I suppose there is no need to go that far, is there? So, does a clever person very nearly hoisted onto their own petrard flee the scene, and thus another such altercation is undercut materially and discreetly dissipated. Yep. So very very inline Clorinde lore from what we already know about her, is that you don't fight her in a duel, and she has a zero to none record. So yeah, pretty much no losses. I do wonder if she, because like I do wonder if someone like her has lost a duel, because everyone has to come from somewhere. So it would be interesting to see if that's probably what her story quest is about. But regardless, I'm mostly excited for her kit. She's a very interestingly designed character. We get to really learn, much about her even through the voice lines, outside of her likes and dislikes. So hopefully, we do get that with Clorinde. Now, moving on to the next character, which I didn't expect at all. As much as he exists in 4.6, and that is Sethos, which is the patch that is coming out tomorrow. So, oh boy, be sure to stay tuned for that. I didn't expect him to come at all. I mean, I knew he was going to be significant in the quest, but I would expect him to come like a patch later, just based on Genshin's release schedule. They say, hey, we have time for it, so let's go ahead and throw Sethos right into the mix. Now, I do really like his design. Some people who really have compared his color scheme to Claude from Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I mean, he's not really beating the allegations with that bow at all. But I do quite like the design he has here, and I do see kind of the elements of Cynos, plus of course just Sumeru, all the way down through the legs. Even he's still got the color scheme, got the boots, pretty cool. I do like it is cool that he's a bow user, so once again, not escaping those Claude allegations, but also voiced by Zeno Robinson, which I don't think was put on here, which is really cool because Zeno Robinson is someone who's appeared both in Fire Emblem Persona, and I very much did like the characters that he had, which is also Fogado in Fire Emblem Engage, so who also wields a bow. So whoop-de-doo, 2 for 2, my friend, on the Fire Emblem category. But regardless, still very cool character. I am very interested to see what happens in the story, which we will see tomorrow. But let's see more about Sethos himself and his lore, because we don't know anything. So you shall have the dexterity of a fox and the agility of a flying serpent. The wisdom of Herman Nubis shall also bestow its favor upon you. Your name shall be Sethos. And a divination from the priest of the name-giving ceremony. Of course, his name is Sethos. The title is Wisdom's Measure, the Desert Envoy, Vision, Electro, and the constellation of the Belios Delta. I don't know what the constellation is, but it is cool to finally confirm that he does indeed an Electrovision. We saw like hints of it in the trailer. It was very hard to scope in perfectly though, so it is good to see what this means. And he's giving sort of a divination from a priest, which we can kind of infer that Sethos is going to be someone who is pretty important in terms of the fact to sign a story quest. Second story quest being the fact that he may have been the person who is supposed to inherit Cynos' power, which is Hermanubis, and it seems to be that maybe his whole story is that he's upset that he didn't get the power of Hermanubis, because it's not a vision related thing. It is some specialized wolf spirit from Sumeru's lore that is granted that we know nothing about. So hopefully we learn this patch, but let's see what that is going to entail in his actual lore section. So inexperienced travelers often find themselves trapped in the vast and boundless sea of sand. Were it not for the timely guidance of a kind soul, their journey on exploration might have come to an ultimately untimely end, cruelly cut short. Many of these who were lost and returned to their companions on the road had all the same name upon their lips: Sethos. A great sense of direction, enthusiastic, talkative, and these are all common impressions among those who have been on the receiving end of Sethos' guidance. And quite true, as a desert dweller, Sethos has known the pass between various oases in the land, and his mastery of the techniques of navigation, such as the sun's position to calculate direction, runs even deeper. As personal interest, Sethos enjoys traveling by foot between desert and rainforest, and the navigation skills he has required are often the product of his personal experiences in doing so. As for being enthusiastic, talkative, and speaking with the Eremites, chance men on the road, or listening to the fascinating anecdotes of hapless scholars rescued from the swamp and marsh, not only can he broaden his knowledge on the horizon, but also have a lot of fun for Sethos, and that is what the joy of the journey lies. Perhaps it is because of his personality, but regardless of locale, from the desert and the rainforest, he always has those that he can regard as friends. Once a researcher met in Caravan Ribat who had developed a deep admiration for Sethos after being struck by his distinctive understanding of the academia and its knowledge system. Once he went so far as to suggest that Sethos sit in the academia's entrance exam. He's a student of the academia? Would be pretty fun to see how the academia's teaching differ from the old folks say back home. I'll consider it. All right, so interesting. So not too much insight into his actual history, I would say, but it is interesting that he's going to be explored. He will probably have the passive that reveals local specialties in Sumeru, which is Tignari's passive. So it is interesting to see it. Once again, another bow character. Otherwise, he's a very homegrown guy. He's mostly roamed the desert, helps people out. It really doesn't reflect that sort of thing that that mystery, that intrigue the trailer gave, that he is supposed to be someone who's willing to fight Sino for his power, which is very interesting. Very interesting plot that we still see unfold very soon. And this is also a very important thing, that he has a very extensive knowledge of the academia. Which a lot of people, especially on the side that we learned in the Aramite world, that they don't really know much about that. Much of their tribe, their people were cut off from the academia, and so him being a desert dweller, to that extension, will put a pretty big factor to developing his character. Maybe a lot of people speculate that he's sort of the foil to Sino. In fiction, foils are basically someone's perfect opposite, who can challenge their ideals, and him being a challenger, and also furthermore to that extent, because Sino, as much as he was willing to challenge the academia, ultimately still lies in the means of judging those who do wrong within the academia's rule set. And maybe Sethos is sort of the antithesis, that maybe he doesn't like the academia altogether, which is definitely an interesting perspective to have. But yeah, that is pretty much all for Sethos. Now, we one more character. Now, I was wondering, how would they squeeze this character into the patch? Because, dude, like, it's Sigewinne, Sigewinne is as basically, like, she came and she left in the Arc Quest. Had a very funny scene, mind you, but we had no idea where she was going to be implemented, because it just felt like characters were getting pushed back so far. But regardless, let's take a look at Sigewinne's bio. The most unique of all Melazines, and my parents know. They say she was a guest at our place a long time ago, and that she held my hand supporting me when I had learned to walk. Many years have passed since the title. Many years have passed since, and I've become an adult. She, on the other hand, is just meticulous and enthusiastic as ever. Emil! Dude, they're dropping everybody today, because Emil is also a character that we've heard multiple times in Fontaine as well as Mondstadt, and it is Emil, the perfume maker. So, shoot, I mean, I guess they're just throwing a bunch of people in there. Why not? But yes, of course, we know Sigewinne, Wondrous Dragonair, Melazine Head Nurse, Hydrovision, which we did know from the stuff, and the Nerdiz as the constellation. Now, it does seem Nerdiz is like a mythical beast, so lore people who know the constellation can talk about that. But very interesting to see. It is about Emil, and it looks like, yeah, so as Melazines are, they live a very long life, being creatures, sort of creatures which, if you know the lore, but so Emil knew her as a young child, and now he's all the way into his adulthood, knowing still knowing her as is. And of course, as the art is, she does have the very silly bubble blowing gun. Maybe it might use a little more. I really hope this comes into her kit, as a result, because Sigewinne did have probably one of the funniest scenes. I really wish they animated. Of course, there is reasons why they can't. A little bit of an age rating restriction there, but it is very funny nonetheless to see her just turn the very silly pink looking gun into a stun gun. So let's see what she has in actual actual bio, or lore segment. The infirmary is the warmest place of the Fortress of Meripede, where the sun fails to shine. Rumor has it that the head nurse who manages said infirmary is also the founder of the fortress. Is also who manages said infirmary is also its founder. Oh, okay, I did read it right. Wait, what? Okay, interesting. Yeah, so we do know that the Fortress of Meripede has significant lore. I'm gonna pause here. Has significant lore in being first created by Focalors, or just the earlier god of Fontaine, and that's why she must have the Wondrous Dragonair as her name. So that's interesting, because everyone views it as Wriothesley, but Wriothesley has been a long time chain. He's a human, unlike Sigewinne, who has a much longer lifespan. Anyway, it is also said that the fortress has changed in the hands of chaotic circumstances several times over the centuries, but there has always been a tacit agreement amongst those who live here to not harm the medical staff in any way. The reason is simple. Few doctors could endure treating criminals and staying in such a place for so long. Fear would still be as clement and cute, as contentious as considerate as Sigewinne. There was once an intimate whose life Oh, inmate. Sorry, an intimate. No, I'm like, that's not right. There was once an inmate whose life Sigewinne saved, and after he had been gravely injured while causing trouble, and proclaimed her to be the emissary of the heavens, an angel of salvation, sent to bring redemption to criminals, even saying that he would preach far and wide on her behalf. That's a bit much, isn't it? The nurse shook her head, her horns bobbling along. I won't ask you what you did wrong before saving you, but you still have to finish serving your sentence once you've healed up. She set her hands on his hips. Flattery is not getting you anywhere. Oh, silly Sigewinne. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think, yeah, it has been implied that the Fortune of Meripede has been, around for, centuries effectively. And Risley was the one who was able to take the place into a truly new light. But, being a human, this place was once run by, maybe possibly Melazines. And that's why Sigewinne is the last remaining medical staff who has always been here for, her entire life. Why she garners so much respect. So that's very interesting. I do hope her kit involves the stun gun, because come on, who doesn't want to do that? I mean, that's pretty funny. But yes, anyway, I'm surprised I don't really have much else to talk about. Just overall, very solid character lineup with Clorinde, Sethos, all across the board. It really is a surprise to have so many characters at all coming in this patch, because it really is a treat to have characters, because no matter what, Genshin always takes their character lore very seriously. So this much level of writing, I guess Sethos and in the end does make a lot of sense. Also, just shout out to the battle pass bow that he's wielding. But yeah, regardless, that is pretty much all I have to say about these characters. I am very excited for next patch, knowing that we are going to get a lot of content. It's not just going to be something very quiet. But yes, that is all from me and reading all the characters' bios. Thank you all so much for watching, and be sure to check out all my channels, as well as leave a like and subscribe here, first and foremost, because this is where all the main stuff goes. But I did recently open up a channel, being at Kojo Cooks. I might not be linked in the description directly, but and also just GITGG, if you know me from that side of the community, is where I'm gonna be having to do a lot more Genshin TCG guides. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up a new channel to kind of spread those out, because we are getting very crowded with content. There was even Wuthering Waves today. But yes, be sure to check out for streams. We will be streaming tomorrow live with Arlecchino and her story quest, so I'll be very excited for that. But yes, regardless, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.